Pokemon Goblin Gold is a modification of a Pokemon game where the creator aims to make the game as hard as possible without changing a single enemy trainer. With increasingly tough fights and limited assets, we take it on as a hardcore Nuzlocke. But it's not just another difficult ROM hack. Evolutions are completely taken away from the player, and the worst of Johto's scraps are simply left behind. Aside from an intensely select few Pokemon that only players with real knowledge of HeartGold Soul Silver's mechanics will be able to obtain. Can I take on the Johto region once more with just infantile Pokemon? Let's find out after a word from our sponsors, Into the AM. These guys have sponsored the channel for a little while now, and are currently running a new campaign up towards the holiday season, with some new graphic tees being up to 60% off thanks to their Black Friday promo. This is their biggest sale of the year, so get one while you still can, because if there was a time to get some amazing items, especially some lovely clothing like what they've got on display, it's before Christmas. This stuff makes great gift ideas for people you know and love. And to make things even sweeter, by using code PokeBron at checkout, you can get a further 10% off, making it so you can get up to 70% off. That is massive! These deals are not going to be around for long and really might not come back, so snap something up while you still can. Thank you once more to Into the AM for sponsoring this video, and let's get into it. You're about to enter a world where nothing will ever evolve at all. Find new strategies wherever you go. Use new Pokemon, but always win at any cost. Gather Pokemon, gather moves from every possible source. New paths will open to you when you study how to overcome challenges and solve mysteries. At times, you'll be challenged by others to a battle. At others, wild creatures may stand in your way. By overcoming such hurdles, you will gain great power. However, your adventure is not solely about becoming powerful. It's about using what little you have to defeat countless people, and through that, achieve personal growth. This is the most important objective of your adventure. Now, when I say the only things changed are encounters and evolutions, I mean it. Literally every single trainer in the game is exactly as they would have been in Vanilla HeartGold. This realistically means the game will pick up further and further in difficulty as we go along. When the AI get access to evolved Pokemon, the player would normally scale alongside them, if not ahead of them. We don't get that luxury in this game and are left to fend with the tools that we're dealt. Earlygame, as stated, will be exactly like a normal run, with us getting a fairly traditional opening pack of our starter Totodile, Hoot that I killed on Route 29 by complete accident, Geodude on Route 46, then redeeming said failed Hoot on Route 30, Rattata on Route 31, Zubat in the Dark Cave, Ghastly in Sprout Tower, Mareep on Route 32, and then Unknown in the Ruins of Elf, closing out a mammoth split of encounters. I gotta admit, I didn't realize you get this many Pokemon in the first split of Johto. It's actually quite impressive. With that though, we have a bunch of Pokemon that probably won't see much use after the second gym. So let's go fight Faulkner. His team is his infamous Pidgey and Pidgeotto duo with no Johtonian Mons at all. I'm not going to hype this fight up a lot. It was actually as simple as you'd expect, thanks to the fact that I have a rock that throws pieces of itself at Pidgey and Pidgeotto, getting to level 14 and getting me the Zephyr badge in the process, as we can head down to Southern Johto. With a newly obtained egg that'll stay that way for as long as possible, we skim through Route 32 thanks to us getting Mareep earlier, and go into the depths of the Union Cave, where in a normal playthrough you'd be able to get the static Lapras on a Friday. However, I made it so that you can't catch it, so, you know, we get Sandshrew. Like for like? No. Blasting out of here lets us a simple Hoppip. Nothing too special, and incredibly, we're not going to be pulling off any massive sweeps with this one, as Caterpie then shows itself in the Ilex Forest while we begin our first encounter with Team Rocket and the Slowpoke well, catching the namesake and defeating the grunts that lie within. Bugsy lines up as the second roadblock of the run, and it's only the Scyther that causes issues here. The U-turn with Stab on an impressive 110 attack is a massive hitter for the second gym, but I have a rock, so we should be okay, right? That's not so nice. I had no idea I'd be taking so much damage from U-turn. I honestly thought I double resisted bug moves. So if I don't do anything here, we're actually in a bit of a spot. After hitting some rock polishes off, I'd assumed I had speed and then got quickly proven wrong, thus maxing it out before finally striking the Mantis down on the last turn, picking up the insect badge with what was both an easy and terrifying gym battle at the same time. We pick up the Headbutt team in the Ilex Forest now, allowing us to not just dash through the rival, but also pick up multiple new encounters, with the newly added Headbutt table of Snubbull replacing Heracross, Execute, Magikarp, and Tentacle. We can then head back on the Yellow Brick Road and collect Drowsy, Abra, Spearow, Nidoran, and then comes the bug catching contest. A place where many Pokemon can flee, have low catch rates, low encounter rates, and so much more. Actually, it's a place where I could not find the encounter table in DSPRE, so it gives us the potential for some powerful Pokemon, like this. A guy that is, in all honesty, way too good for this game, I'll admit that. But combining a low encounter rate, low catch rate, and the fact that I actually thought this was a post-game only added mon, like how you can catch Kricketune here, I let it slide. In fact, you could go catch this now. Just saying. This guy is by far the most powerful Pokemon in the game to this point that we can obtain, and it will remain that way until almost the very end. Learning a myriad of fighting moves as well as gaining Stab X Scissor in the 30s, look out for this guy. Picking up the FemC counterpart to our last route encounter in Nidoran, we can then swing back to Goldenrod with our flashy new radio card to take out the quote-unquote incredibly pretty girl in Whitney. Her Miltank is among the most infamous in Pokemon, with incredible swooping potential and admittedly a kind of silly speed stat, but it is far from insurmountable if we've made it this far already. Clefairy pulls a Metronome Dive on the first turn, allowing me to use Focus Energy before playing strategically with a big Revenge on the next turn to ensure that I act second. Big Milk then hits the deck, so I go for another knowing the sheer damage off of just one would be lethal, running it all the way into the red as she potions back up. This thing gives me wiggle room to work around any possible flinches, getting us the plain badge with little to no effort at all, just some, standard play on my part. Route 38 gives us at face value what would be a decently powerful Pokemon, but is Stantler. This guy's kind of awkward. Powerful enough at face value with decent enough stats and a pure normal typing, but it just kind of lacks a lot of firepower at this point to make it worth my while. It gets Stomp a little later on, but for now it's just kind of okay. Machop gets its guns out in Mount Mortar while I head due east to grab a Mankey, and heading upwards nets me Dunsparce, replacing the more powerful Girafarig. Heading back down to Route 38 gets me Magnemite, a steel type to tank normal attacks with its whopping base 20 or so HP. Route 39 then brings me the newly fixed Smoochum. For context, the babies were added across the region at 4 or 5% encounter rates, just to kind of add some variety. I also get to enjoy the liberties of a new fishing rod in Olivine, hooking Krabby, headbutting Spinarak to finally get something out of Ecruteak, and then coughing in the Burnt Tower, which actually came with some consequences. I forgot to level up my team before fighting the rival in here, and I had to pay the price as a result. Set damage moves in games like this, where your Pokemon are generally very weak, are just really dangerous. Pinsir was able to finish the fight off with some power on its side, but damn, this really shows that anything in this game can bite you in the ass, even when you least expect it. For example, you know how I just talked a whole lot of crap about Stantler? It's going to prove exactly why it belongs with a monstrous bout against Morty. His Pokemon are all of the Gengar line. Makes as much sense to me as Falkner's team, to be honest. Either way, Stantler can go crazy here, astonishing Ghastly, then Haunter, before Gengar the Ace comes out ready to put me to sleep. Incredibly, I win that mirror match and go over to Snubble to render Gengar's Sucker Punches useless with some Charm Spam, as I go back to Stantler after eating out the gas, and finish the job with just one more Astonish. Pretty easy still, but this is slowly where the tide starts to turn, as Johto's region opens right up for us now, with the Water Outs, Rocket Hideout, and so much more to catch. Getting access to Surf from a man in the Dance Theatre lets me head southwest towards Seatonwood City, and get some more Pokemon as well. Starting off our 5th badge split with Corsola south of Olivine, Chinchou by the Whirl Islands, and the Gift Chuckle in Seatonwood itself. Strangely with Chuck, his Primeape is actually incapable of doing any reasonable damage to us, with it just having Rock Slide. As Focus Punch is useless provided the Pokemon gets hit in the same turn, meaning I was actually able to take it out with Geodude, bringing out Poliwrath. Now, I fully anticipated this to be Surf, forgetting it was still a coin flip to go for Focus Punch because it could C-kill, making Drowsy take way too much damage, so I had to start pivoting about, going to Ghastly on the Body Slam and then to Slowpoke to try put it to sleep. This went horridly wrong, as I then went back to Ghastly to watch it succumb to the waves. Pinsir could only do so much before being put to sleep itself, and then realizing Chinchou should be able to counter it well enough, as Spark did a little bit below 50%, forcing Citrus to proc, but it's not something we can't grind down on the Frog, as the Storm Badge goes into our pocket, giving us access to Fly from his partner as well. 2 deaths to this point is honestly way less than I thought we'd have, as we swing up Lake of Rage to kick off the remainder of the story, heading down under into the Rocket Hideout. For the most part, the grunts here are just that, grunts, with nothing that can stop us on the path to the generator until the admins of Team Rocket come at us. Petrol's first on our hit list and is as free as ever, with Zubat coughing Eradicate or going down to a deer in headlights, as Ariana follows quickly. As this time, we have a bit of an ace in the hole here, as Lance kind of has like a Dragonite, which is pretty good in comparison to my terrible Pokemon. Pinsir now gaining access to X's via level up allows us to have almost unrivaled power for the rest of the run alongside it, making our lives that much easier. As we slammed Ariana into the wall and just handled these random balls that were lying on the ground. Why are they here? They're kind of weird that they just like explode in that. This opens the doors to Price's gym, and our priorities are set. His team is just level 34 is just not threatening us anymore. Like, literally not at all. Dunsparce rolls over everything on his team, even with a miss on Seal throwing me off my game. We can quickly slip through the Lighthouse without any issues and get Amphi the medicine she needs before being tasked with taking on Jasmine. Before I do that though, I quickly try to nab some more Pokemon, with Pineco blowing its load and Murkrow moosing out of my balls before I could even think about what just happened. However, I also pick up arguably the most vital Pokemon in the entire run now. Mizzy D. This guy has 85 in both special stats as well as speed, making it a versatile threat with a fairly deep TM move pool, allowing us to mix and match our sets later. Unfortunately for Jasmine, her being lugged with 2 Magnemite and not a Skarmory or even a Magneton just made this fight way too easy for us. I led off with Pinsir taking out the first Magnet with a Brick Break before she sent in the Ace Steelix. The big behemoth gets hit with Rock Smash before managing to land a 75% accurate Iron Tail straight away, forcing me to switch out. Miho is able to show its cheery grin for the first time in a while doing huge damage with some serves to take down the Snake, and Geodude finished the job on the other Magnet, leaving us with just one more badge to obtain, and by far the hardest of the lot. This is also where we begin the Radio Tower split, with Petrol's entire team getting slammed by Stab Psybeam as well as non-Stab Psybeam from Misdreavus, rendering him as useless as ever. Next on the list is our rival, and we all know how that went for us last time. Golbat got manhandled by Boulder Dash with a rather handy Crit Rock Blast, as Sneasel does pitiful damage before getting smacked into the floor. I swing over to Reven as I go for Ancient Power with a wish for a fictional boost, and then I'm able to surf the Magnet, thinking I was going to kill, before seeing a Calcura and just going out to Geodude. Should be easy, right? At least we're high enough level to switch freely to Stantler and go for a fat stomp to bring out the Ace Meganium. Pinsir comes out to 2-hit KO the Mega Meganium, and Horner gets shaken by my Stantler's Antlers before beating the rival for the last time before we get to Victory Road. Proton having 2 Mons is definitely less than terrifying, as Corsola clapped the bat and Misdreavus flung the Weezing out of the tower, leaving just Ariana and Archer. Ariana's lead Arbok is swiftly dealt with by Corsola as she brought out Vileplume, who I strangely enough don't really want to leave Corsola in against. Drowsy can then deal with Vileplume, but awkwardly enough I actually end up having to drop Drowsy as Pursuit from 80 attack does quite a lot of damage, but Stantler can at least smack the bird out of the way, leaving just Boss Man at the top. Houndour leads off, getting slimed by an AP as his Ace Houndoom comes in and I just have no choice but to send it. Also, why are you not evolved? Brother, please. Fuck base Johto. Anyway, enough dilly-dallying, let's head to Blackthorn. For the most part, our encounters now are kind of irrelevant, as an Elite Four is starting to take shape in my head. Route 45's encountering Gligar sits high up on that list, solid defensive typing and Stab Earthquake. But in all seriousness, to this point in the game, nothing, and I repeat, nothing prepares you for Claire's Kingdra. A Pokemon with minimal weakness, bulk, power, speed, and healing items. I actually have a couple of different strategies floating around in my head, but the one thing I land on which actually makes the most sense here with Kingdra's moveset is PP Stall. Water Absorb should be able to take out the Hydro Pump's 5 PP, and a Ghost type should be able to get the Hyper Beams running well enough that it only has the Dragon Pulse. But the other issue is, I have no Dragon Resist. So how's this gonna go? Her lead Gyarados isn't super threatening as I lead my Voltorb and smash it with a pair of huge Charge Beams, letting Voltorb then swiftly fall to Dragonair. Pinsir's then able to take it out after some chip from the ball, before being able to take down the second in quick succession. This now brings out the Demon, as I went to Lickitung with full intention of sacking it to the slaughter. A quick sack of Wooper though allows me to pivot through to Misdreavus and get my ace in the hole out. The unmentioned move that I have not even spoken about, even whilst preparing for this fight, that I didn't even recognize was on this guy until preparing for this fight. Perish Song. With just 3 turns left on the clock, I'm allowed to quickly stall out the last of the 3 turns, and then get the 8th gym badge, unlocking the gates to the Pokemon League with just 5 deaths. I'm actually pretty sure I had a HeartGold run in vanilla in like the full series with more deaths to this point, which is saying a lot. A quick excursion into the Dragon's Den gets me to Chini with extreme speed, not that it can really do much with its generally terrible stat spread, before taking on the Kimono Girls in the Ecruteak Dance Theatre. Unlike original Gold Silver Crystal, where these demons are simply level 17 and can be taken on in any order, these monsters are level 38 in this game, and all have to be fought in quick succession, in a row, with no chance to change your team in between. Being as concise as possible here though, Pinsir took out both Umbreon and Espeon, Corsola took out Flareon, Gligar knocked Jolteon down a few pegs, and Chinchou was able to Water Absorb Vaporeon out of the way and get the 680 BST Ho-Oh that looks very intended to get. With a Farfetch'd obtained on Route 47, Ponyta on Route 26, and an Onix in Victory Road, we just have 6 trainers until we possibly beat the Goblin Gold Hardcore Nuzlocke. Pinsir is actually single-handedly able to take out nearly all of our rivals' team, as he suffers from Johto trainers being underleveled and doesn't have enough EXP on his Pokemon to pose a challenge. Now though comes the Elite Four. Another Everest-like difficulty spike with crazily powerful Pokemon around every corner. A champion with a triple-headed beast of Cantonian dragons and still a lot in between. This is the Goblin Gold Elite Four. An Elite Four that gets underway with the Psychic Dynamo Will. His dual lead Xatu and Ace Xatu is something, and his specially bulky core is definitely threatening. But it turns out Misdreavus is pretty good at beating that stuff. Level 48 allows Misdreavus to be able to outspeed his other Xatu after taking out the first, and with the help of the Metronome item, it lets me chain through his entire team with no issue at all. Honestly, it's quite shocking that such a middling Pokemon can sweep members of an Elite Four like this. Members? Just you wait. Koga's Ninja Squad is second on our hit list, and Dux's Swords Dance allows me to be able to then proceed to Oko the Spider on the next turn. I go straight over to Mizzy D on the Forretress as it simply has no way of inflicting damage, forcing him to switch to Crobat, getting off a double team or two, which makes my life a lot harder. I then land the coin flip, taking down the bat with a massive T-Bolt, as Muck comes in to be a pain in the butt, before missing its Gunk Shot, allowing me to start building Metronome boosts, and then sweep the rest of Koga's team with ease. And suddenly, we can sweep again. Hitmontop is a fool, and likes to sit in going for Dig, not seeing I have Levitate, letting me set all the way up to maximum power, taking down his entire Macho Man squad with some balls. Now comes Karen. Her Dark-type team is a different breed. With multiple non-Dark type Pokemon and threatening Pokemon in Houndoom and Umbreon, she's really not to be messed with. Umbreon's not too bad, as I can X-Scissor it into red health, forcing Karen to use her full restore on it before killing straight after. Second up is Murkrow as it outspeeds and wants to pluck my hairs out, or so I thought anyway. Bro really pulled up and said, alright, I'm a whirlwind. 13 is their Ace Houndoom that goes for Flamethrower, allowing me to scout where to switch before going in a Corsola, hitting a juicy Surf before being saved by the AI for a second time this fight, as I switched on the same turn. I then began setting up with Ducks, which allowed me to somehow take out Vileplume in a single blow, Gengar, and take down Houndoom, all with a shit-ass bird, unlocking the game's greatest hurdle in Lance, with a full quota of 6 Pokemon still alive. And in all seriousness here, I have no answers. Even with 6 Pokemon, it's a matter of sending it and praying for the best. This is Goblin Gold at its core. Bare minimum resources, back against the wall stuff. Misdreavus does massive damage with a Charge Beam, also picking up a Spare Boost on the way through, whilst also taking huge damage, but Lance's stupid AI goes for a heal, allowing not just 1, but 2 more Charge Beams, getting me to +3 special, but even then, it's not close to enough. Misdreavus does around 70% to the Pterodactyl before falling to its Rage. A cheeky dodge then allows me to take it out with the Stantler Zen Headbutt, showing Dragonite number 3. The Dragonite without Rage, it's simply too much for me to contain here. I attract it turn 1, but even then, there's no hope. The critical hit and retaliation is truly a nail between the eyes. I pivot around, forcing itself to wear out into confusion before going for its Swords Dance as a Hail Mary, with the dragon even whacking itself in the face twice in a row. But even with doubled attack, Fly does pitiful damage to the original dragon. Even by letting it wear itself out again, whacking itself in the face, it's still no hope. Charizard then stands tall, slicing down my hopes of an attempt 1 Goblin Gold victory, as if there was no chance at all. That was the story of the first Goblin Gold attempt. Will I beat the game? Of course, it's my own game. I probably should have prefaced that before, so I definitely will beat it someday. But in all honesty, when I do beat it, it's probably going to be a completely different game. Pinsir, for example, not going to be there. But I'm debating adding Hoenn and Sinnoh Pokemon into the Johto region as well, just to increase the encounter variety a bit, because there's a lot of areas where there's only like 3 or 4 mons, and it just feels a bit bland. So if you did enjoy this video, go leave a like, hit the subscription button as well. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of the game. If you want to know more about the game itself, please hit the link in the description. That will take you into my Discord, where we do have a bit more information on that as well. At the same time, thank you once more to Into the Game for sponsoring the video. Link is in the description, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.